This was Chains, right?
Yeah. To people that don't know what he's talking about, obviously you didn't watch Attitude Era. Chains from the Disciples of Apocalypse, DOA, biker crew, whatever. Yeah, and he was the fake Undertaker in 1994. Ted DiBiase's Undertaker, or whatever you want to say.
Which, ironically, I'm not even trying to be funny, was probably the biggest thing he's ever done.
Yeah, right. Because he somewhat resembled Mark Calloway. So, hey, what if we had two Undertakers? I will say this, as a kid, I freaking loved that.
Oh, God, yeah, I ate it up.
Yeah,
I thought that match at SummerSlam was amazing. Looking back, I'm like, man, this was garbage.
It wasn't good. Well, I like how the Undertaker tries to, like, make up for it. He's like, well, we were supposed to go longer, but Brett and Owen went over their time. It's like, you mean this was supposed to go longer than this?
You mean the classic cage match went too long and this crap went too short?
Yeah,
what am I missing
sorry.
here?
I was like, I'm sorry, but adding 10 more minutes on it because they were like, well, Brett and Owen went 10 minutes long, which I will admit it's pretty effed up, and I guess the Undertaker got really pissed at him about it. However, using that again, like, adding 10 more minutes to that Taker versus Taker match would not have made it better.
I would have taken 5 minutes off.
Right. It's like, if anything, I think it would have made it worse. God, man. Yeah, I remember.
What was WWE doing that back then?
Say what?
What was WWE doing that back then, especially that year? WrestleMania 10 had the same problem with the ladder match.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there were certain people that were just like, we're not going to take our time cues, whatever. They did say, they were like, in certain cases, like, Shawn and Brett knew they could get away with it because they're like, well, if we're putting on a banger, we're not going to get chewed out that bad, if we go over time. So
those two ever put on bangers?
Yeah, never. The one last thing on the Taker versus Taker thing, talk about when we were kids.
Oh,
I remember I was I was hanging out with a friend of mine, when we were both super into wrestling in elementary school, whatever. And we went to the video store to rent, we both picked out a wrestling tape to watch. I know I'm going super old. Everybody's got to Google this stuff. But I can't remember what he picked out, but I was like, this one is Undertaker versus Undertaker? There's two Undertakers? I got to watch this.
If I didn't know any better, in hindsight, I would swear that was Kane.
Dude, people told me for years, like, before you could, like, easily look stuff up on the internet, like, oh, that was Kane before you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I would have bought that if I didn't know any better. I totally would have bought that.
I did for a bit until I was looking, and I'm like, because my dad was one of them that said it. I was like, the fake Undertaker had tattoos. Kane does not. And he's like, oh well, still. He's like, well, they could have covered it up. I'm like, what? Okay. But yeah, I mean, other than that, body, yeah, you could buy it. When I will say this, when I found out it was Chains, I was like, wait, what? Because
I don't think I found out who it was until, like, when I say recently, I mean, like, in the past, like, 10 years or so.
Yeah, I found out a while ago, but I was just like, huh? Like,
and for the longest time, I thought Chains was that guy 911.
Oh God, yeah, it did.
I really did.
I mean, the outfit definitely fit, but the thing is, I think Chains could wrestle. Look, I don't know if 911 is dead. I don't know.
I think he is, actually.
Well,
I don't mean you can't criticize the wrestling. I'm tired of people that having that attitude. Oh, if you criticize their skill, you're crapping on the dead. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
you're an idiot for saying that.
Like, we can say somebody was not good at their job without saying they were a crappy. We say that about El Gigante / Giant Gonzalez all the time.
Once a podcast, I think.
Yeah, right.